Hello, everyone. The Kentucky Patriot. We are so glad to be back with you once again with a very, very special guest, the New York Prepper. How are you, sir?
Doing good. How are you?
Fantastic. I appreciate him and thank him so much for coming on, taking time out of his day. And like I had mentioned in the last video, we're going to try to do a series on various topics. Anything that you would like for us to discuss, feel free to leave it in the comments below. We'll see what we can do. Try to get to some of your questions and some of your interest. But on the last video, we talked about some firearms, EDC, the rounds, the mode of carry. So this video, this is part two. We're going to kind of continue on with that topic, but instead of EDC and what we do away from the home, this one's going to be geared a little bit more toward what we do in the home. So yeah, I made several videos, but again, we want to pick New York Prepper's brain. And he, like I said, he's a wealth of knowledge, such a great guy. We're so blessed to have him on the channel. So we're just going to jump right into it, and we're going to turn it over to him. But as far as home defense, if you don't care to give us some tips and pointers and let us know what you do personally, if you don't care, as far as what you use for home defense, what rounds you use, and why.
Sure. So I always like to have a handgun, a shotgun, and a rifle within reach. So I know that's not easy for a lot of people because they have kids and stuff, and you have to lock up your guns and stuff like that. But even if you lock up your guns, they should be pretty close to you, ideally in the same room, in your bedroom, so you can easily have access to them. That's number one. But I always like to have a handgun, shotgun, and definitely a rifle at my disposal. Typically, if in my tactics, if something were to happen, I would reach for my pistol and shotgun first. And if that were not to be enough, then I would jump to rifle, like an AR. So that's basically what I have. 12 gauge with buckshot and slug alternating in the magazine tube. And then I have an AR in 308 caliber. I know a lot of people are going to say that's over penetration, but I live in the country, so I don't really care. You know, I'm surrounded by farms, so even if I over penetrate, I'm not really too worried about that. Then I have various handguns at my disposal as well. So definitely like to have a rifle nearby, definitely a shotgun, and at the minimum, a handgun.
I totally get what folks are saying about over penetration, but as me and you have discussed before, over penetration is going to be achieved in the house with basically anything. So I don't blame you a bit. I want to stop the threat. And I understand that we're responsible for every round and our target and what's behind it, but I'm like you. I certainly want the threat to stop, not slow down, but stop. Well, let me ask you this.
Yep.
Do you have one of those that you would consider your primary, or is it just where you're at in the house, or if it depends if you're in bed, or what would you consider your primary? And if you are in bed, what again is your primary, or do you have something in general, just whatever happens to be in reach? Or
Yeah, I would say my primary is my handgun and my shotgun. Mostly first would be my handgun, just because I always keep that loaded and it's easier to grab a handgun quickly. I usually keep it like on my nightstand or somewhere nearby my bed. So I would actually reach for my handgun first, just to assess the situation. If I hear like somebody kicking a door in, first thing I'll do is make sure my bedroom is locked, my bedroom door is locked, make sure whoever's with me is in the same room. Like if, whoever's in the house, loved ones, make sure they're in the same room as me. If they're not, then I would have to consider go out there and get them. But let's say all my loved ones are in the same room as me. First thing I do, grab my handgun, make sure the door's locked. Those would be like the first two things in my mind. That's my first things that go through my head, because at least if I have the door locked, it'll slow them down. And I have the handgun, it's easy to grab. I don't have to chamber around. I don't have to load a magazine. It's all loaded, ready to go. Then I can assess the situation from there. I would probably grab my shotgun or rifle, depending on the situation. So that's typically how I would do it.
Now, when you say handgun, what are you referring to?
A Magnum revolver or 10 millimeter semi-automatic, something with power, something like that. Yep.
And what do you run in both of those, the 10 millimeter and the 40? Is it a 44, your big bore revolver? Is that what you, or do you have a different revolver?
44. Yeah, 44 Magnum. I also have some 10. I have two 10 millimeter semi-automatics nearby. So either of those three, I would reach and grab those. Same thing as my concealed carry. Actually, I would have hollow points and full metal jackets mixed in. So that's basically what I would have in the handgun. Shotgun, I would have double aught or triple aught buck, alternating with a 1 ounce slug, and then rifle, full metal jacket, just because I want the reliability. If you have soft point ammo in an AR, sometimes you can get jams, with the feed ramp and stuff like that. So I don't want to have to worry about a jam. So I just go full metal jacket with the rifle.
I think when you talk handgun calibers, your bullet selection is very important. Honestly, with a 308 rifle, close quarters, I don't think your ammo selection is really very crucial at all. I mean, if you're talking 15, 20 feet away from a 308, I mean, it's certainly a bad day for the bad guy. What was the? Now I got the revolver because I knew you said the big bore revolver. I don't know if it was the same one as your EDC, but you said it was. So
yeah.
We know what you carry in that. And what about the 10 millimeter? What'd you say you have it loaded with?
10 millimeter. I have same thing, hollow points, 200 grain hollow point, and I have 200 grain full metal jacket and 200 grain hollow point, and I alternate them also.
Now, do you run anything on any of those as far as an optic, a light, iron sights, laser, red dot? What do you use on any or all of those options?
Great question. Glad you asked it. So obviously revolver, I don't have a way of mounting a light. So in that situation, I always keep a tactical light on my nightstand. So in that situation, I would need to use my light in one hand, handgun in the other. But my 10 millimeter, I have an Olight or a stream light on there, weapon mounted light. I don't have any red dots or reflex sights on any of my handguns or my shotgun, just iron sights. But one thing I do have is I do have tritium sights on all of my defensive firearms. And that's like one thing that's like a critical thing for me is every defensive firearm I have, I always have tritium sights on it, because you never know what time of day you're going to need to use them. You definitely want sights that you can see in the dark. So you need those tritium night sights. So all my defensive firearms have tritium sights on them. The rifle, the shotgun, the handguns, they all have night sights, so I can use them in pitch black. But I do have that tactical light nearby, and then I have the stream light on the 10 millimeters. And on my AR, right now I have iron sights on it, but I am planning to mount a scope on there. But even with the scope, I would just keep it dialed down to the lowest setting, so I could still use it in CQB if I had to, But home defense situation, I mean, I could even just point it. I don't really need to. That situation with a large capacity magazine, I could just, I don't need to really zero in precisely at, so.
Right. No, I get it. And I know people are going to say, as soon as you say that, they're like, well, you got to make sure. But like I said, if you're in a 15-foot hallway and somebody's running at you, it's not going to be, I mean, you can point and shoot and still be accurate. It's kind of like bird hunting. I mean, you don't really aim when you bird hunt or rabbit hunt. I mean, you're not just firing wildly, but I want to clear that up because I know how people that's not gun
Right.
people will take that sometimes, because I said little things like that in videos and people's like, they missed the whole point of the whole video and they'll focus on something small like that. But you're absolutely right. I mean, now sights are important because, especially as my eyes, I can tell a big difference when I turn 30. I can tell a big difference when I turn 40. My glasses at 40 is not what I didn't have to wear glasses when I was 20. Tritium night sights are important in case you do need to fire that shot. But I agree 100% with what you're saying. If somebody's running at you at the hallway, you're not going to zero that in and try to put that dot right exactly. You're going to neutralize the threat. You're absolutely right.
Exactly. Yep.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, that's exactly. I think that's also an overlooked aspect of home defense and just, training at the range. I think everything these days is people lost the hip shooting training. Back in the day, hip shooting was like actually a lot of in the military, they would actually, like, if you watch the old World War II training videos with the 1911s, they would practice point shooting and they would practice hip shooting because, the realities of self-defense and combat, you may not get a chance to get a full draw. You may have to shoot from your hip, or you may have to just point. The bad guy's not going to give you the opportunity to just fully present your pistol all the time. So I think that's something that people overlook in their training. You should train your hip shooting and your point shooting as well.
Absolutely. I know you're familiar with the 21-foot rule. Those of you that are not, you can go back and watch people in videos all the time. Somebody trying to draw when somebody's trying to run at them from 21 feet away, and they're on top of them before. So you're absolutely right. You're not necessarily going to get the full draw to get your front sight focus to get right. I mean, you're absolutely right, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's an excellent point. Hopefully, it never gets to that point. God forbid we'd ever have to deploy, even though I was curious what you had for home defense, but hopefully we'll never come to the point where we have to deploy that. What would be some other advice, or what would you recommend, or what would you say to the audience your opinion would be for home defense or hardening your home, or maybe some tactics or tips to, keep people from coming to your house in the first place? If they do, like you said, try to kick in your door, what would be some tactics or some advice that you would give to maybe, because really, no matter what we have in our arsenal, it's always better if we don't have to use it. So that's always the better day. So what would you recommend on maybe hardening your home, or some self-defense or home defense tips that you would maybe give to the audience on something like that?
Yeah, sure. So I think the number one most important thing to understand is that inside of your house, you really don't have good cover. A lot of these, self-defense schools, they train you on how to clear rooms and pieing the room and all that stuff. But, you've seen some of my ballistics tests where, a 12 gauge slug will go through 20 sheets of sheetrock. So, there's really not much cover inside of a typical American residential stick frame house. That's, your walls are made of sheetrock, and there's really no hard cover in your home. So you have to understand that you have to kind of keep it in the back of your mind that there really is no cover inside of your house. If you're going to try to go through your house and clear your house thinking that you're, like a Navy SEAL or some kind of SWAT officer, you're just asking for trouble. So my recommendation to everybody is just, you should have like a safe room in your house where if somebody breaks in, everybody goes to that safe room. You lock the door, and then you call 911 right away and say that there's someone in the house. In this part of the house, I have my wife and kids with me. The door is locked. I am armed, and I am pointing the gun at the door in case they try to force the door. And that's it. And just wait for the police to come. Let the police deal with it. Number one, from a legal aspect, it's easier to defend that in a court of law rather than if you run out of your bedroom, with a reflex sight and, a tactical light, and you're trying to pie all the different rooms in your house and you're trying to find the bad guy. If you're doing that, you're just asking for trouble, because What if there's two guys? You know, you don't know what's going on outside of your bedroom. Like you could be sleeping in the middle of the night, your door is closed, it's dark, and you hear someone kicking the door in. What if there's three guys that are coming in your door, not just one guy, and you try to go out there and deal with them? What if they take you out? They shoot you in the leg, or they kill you. Now your wife and kids are defenseless, you know? So you don't know where they are in your house. You know, it's dark. You don't want to be, you know, trying to clear your house by yourself. That's just asking for trouble. I mean, you know, when you look at the military and law enforcement, when they go in and they have to extract the bad guy or arrest the bad guy, they go in with 20 guys, 30 guys. They have, you know, intel. They plan everything out, you know, hours or days ahead of time. And even then, there's still casualties sometimes. So, you know, for you to think that you're going to go through your house by yourself and clear your house out, it's just asking for trouble, in my opinion, you know. So you're better off just, you know, have a safe room, lock yourself in that safe room with your family. Now, if your family is in a different room than you are, of course, you have to go to them and then secure the room that they're in. But, you know, have a safe room and figure out also your fields of fire, you know, like God forbid, if you do have to use your weapon, if your firearm penetrates through your house, you know, where's that bullet going to go? Do you have a neighbor on the north side of your house? Do you have a neighbor on the south side? But then maybe you have no neighbors on the east and west side. So you want to be aware of, you know, you want to set up fields of fire where you're going to be shooting towards, because you have your safe room and your safe room is pointing towards your neighbor's house, and you shoot through the door, you shoot through the bad guy, and then you shoot through your house and you hit your neighbor. That's not good either. So these are all things you should think about, you know, have a safe room, have a plan of action. But I definitely don't recommend people try to clear their house by themselves, regardless how much training you think you have. It's just asking for trouble. And I've personally talked to guys that are like tier 1 operators, and they even told me the same thing. They said they would never clear their house. It's just not worth it. The risk, it's too risky. And you know, in a court of law, it's much easier to defend yourself if you just, you know, you wait for the police to arrive, and that's it. So that's probably number one. And then after that, you know, obviously things to do to deter people. Lighting is very important. You know, make sure your house is lit up well. Security cameras are very good, especially if you have a sign that says security cameras in use. That's definitely a good thing to have. You know, beware of dog signs are great. You know, also if you're going away, turn some lights on, you know, have a timer and set the lights to turn on so it looks like someone's home. You don't want to just have like a pitch black house and you're on vacation for a week or two. You know, eventually someone's going to figure out you're not home, and then they're going to try to break in, you know. So you know, but you know, that's something, those are some very basic things, you know, lighting, putting up signs, security cameras in use, or beware of dog. That's very important. And just having security cameras, you know, nowadays there's so many good security cameras out there that are so easy to set up. You know, the one that I have is Arlo. Arlo is like, you can hook it right up to your Wi-Fi network. And it's so easy to use, and it's just a no-brainer, because if something were to happen, it's all on tape, you know. So if the prosecutor says, well, you weren't justified to use deadly force because he didn't actually charge at you, but if you have it on camera and it's all recorded, you know what I mean, you can be exonerated that way too. So definitely like cameras, lighting, and then if you're away from home, if you don't want to get your place robbed, you know, put some lights on, signs. That's just basic stuff.
That's a wealth of great information and very, very good points and great ideas. And to your point, I have never said this in a video, because I mean, I love the tactical stuff too. I like shooting, I like the guns, but you absolutely hit the nail on the head. And I mean, I know there's a lot of people like video games. They play those games and they see cool stuff on, movies. Not to burst anybody's bubble, but room clearing never has been or never is as was meant to be for one person. And like you said, somebody's got your kid in their kidnap situation, of course you're going to have to clear a room. But in general,
Right.
clearing a room should never be. And I understand you got to clear a corner if you hear, something maybe to whatever, but you cannot go through your house clearing your house. I mean, it's good to know how. Like I said, when we went on vacation one year, we rented a cabin and the alarm went off while we was at Dollywood, and the police was called and they searched the cabin. They said they didn't see nothing, but somebody had been in that cabin. It could have been a maid or whatever. So I wasn't going to let my kids go in there and sleep until I checked out make sure there's nothing in there.
Right.
But in a home defense situation, you are absolutely right. Room clearing is not a one-man job. There's a team, and there's a reason there's a team. There's a one man that goes one way, and then the second man goes the second way. And you are exactly right. And I believe in fundamentals, that you hit the nail on the head. Just having fundamentals and knowing how. And I'll say this and turn it back over to you, but we got to go to a leadership forum with Kyle Lamb at the NRA convention. And that's what he said. He said he had some guys call him and want to know if in case you don't know who Kyle Lamb is, he was one of the Delta Force guys let down Tier 1 operator on the Battle of Mogadishu. Some of you viewers may not know who he is, but we got to meet him. Great guy. But he said he had some guys call him and want them to train him on how to take over a ship. And he's like, well, he's thought, well, maybe we could do that or whatever. He got to talking to him. He's like, well, what's the first man do that goes in? What's the second man do in a team? What's the third man? Well, they had no idea. They didn't know how to clear a room, but yet they was going to try to take over a ship. So I think a lot of people try to clear their house or try to do this tactical stuff when wait a minute, that's not the plan that we need. We need to have a good base, like you said, with lighting. Let's avoid the situation if possible. Then if the situation comes to us, we need to, be ready and be in a defensive mode, not in an offensive mode, because like you said, while we're clearing the house and we're looking for this guy, there could be another guy at another option. That's why a team works great together. Where an individual, it could be very dangerous if there's multiple threats. And I think you made a lot of good points right there, and I appreciate your perspective.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I mean, you could easily get ambushed inside of a house. It's dark outside, it's the middle of the night. You don't know where these guys, if there's like 2-3 guys that made it through your front door, they're not all going to be standing together. Chances are they're going to split up. They're not stupid. If they're committed, in their mind, they committed to kicking your door in, and they know that you're there. They probably know you're there. So they know that that's a serious crime, and they're going to prepare for it accordingly, just like you prepare for them coming in accordingly. So just because there's a home invader doesn't mean they're all like, we watch these movies like Home Alone where the home invaders are like these kind of goofy guys with, crowbars. They're not, a lot of them are very intelligent and they're cunning. So you can't underestimate them. They could go separate ways. And like you said, you're looking for one guy, the other guy could be hiding somewhere else. They could try to lure you out. And once they lure you out, then they gang up on you,
Sure.
So, and then, you're the rest of your family is defenseless now, because if you're the man of the house, they hit you upside the head with a bat or something and you're knocked out, there's, who's going to help them, right? So, yeah.
Well, most of the time, fortunately, most people are there just to rob, to get an easy target, to steal your Christmas gifts. But in the event, like you said, if there's a team of them, if there's 2 or 3 or 4 individuals and they've made the conscious effort to kick in your door, knowing you're home for a home invasion, whether it's broad daylight or middle of the night, they're not there just to steal. They're there to inflict damage and hurt and pain. And it's it's a very scary thing. It's a very serious thing. And I think one of the biggest things we can do wrong is never to prepare or think it'll never happen to us, because if we panic or in a situation where they catch us unaware, then I like what you said about motion lights, something that lets us know they're coming, or a dog, or whatever the case may be, an alarm. cameras, whatever, to let us know that they don't catch us unaware. Because if we're in the middle of the night and they're already in the house before we realize that they're in there, and we don't know if there's 1, 3, or 5, it can turn south for us really quick.
Yeah, I think another thing too is having a good relationship with your neighbors. Your neighbors can be very, very helpful, because if you guys watch over each other's houses, you could see if there's anybody canvassing your neighborhood. My old neighborhood, we had like an email chain where everybody in the neighborhood was on like an email list. And if somebody saw something weird, we would send out an email to all the neighbors and say, hey, we saw this weird, truck kind of driving around slow and whatever, and something like that is very useful too, because chances are, if the bad guys are going to try to break into your house, they're going to do some scouting first, to figure out how they're going to enter, what times you're home, what times you're not home, etc. So, having a good relationship with your neighbors is always a good thing too, in an ideal scenario. So.
Wow. Some really good points. And you guys out there in YouTube land, I know a lot of you guys are gun owners, homeowners. A lot of you served in the military, law enforcement. If you would leave your comments, let us know what we missed, what we didn't go in depth on, maybe some ideas we didn't come up with, because I've already learned a ton off NYprepper just in 2 videos. So I'm here to learn, I'm here to glean. So please share your experiences with us. And I think I said this in the last video, and I love doing this. This is my hobby. I enjoy it. But guys, I don't really ask anything of you. I don't have a Patreon. I'm not asking for anything. But I would ask for this one favor. Would you please like, share, and subscribe? And I'm going to leave NYprepper's link in the description below. Would you please go over to his channel? He does ballistics testing. He does recent news events. He's got a lot of cool stuff on his channel. Would you please, if you're not already subscribed, do me a favor, go over to his channel, like, share, and subscribe. You'll be glad you did. If you're not already subscribed, do yourself a favor, do him a favor, and click that subscribe button. It really means a lot to us. And I appreciate him coming on, taking out his time. I mean, we enjoy this, but still, he took time out of his day. It's getting late. He works, and he's willing to come on this channel. So we thank you greatly, NYprepper, for coming on and helping us and giving us all this great information. What else would you, in conclusion, just tips, guns, defense, whatever the case may be, home defense related? Can you give us some final thoughts and some recommendations on what you would tell, or maybe with somebody that's maybe a new homeowner or just getting into it, or maybe they've lived there for years, and like you said, what used to happen, in neighborhoods, watched out for each other, whatever, but maybe they moved somewhere and they don't feel as safe, or maybe they've never had to really deal with a home defense situation because their neighborhood's always been safe, but now times have changed and they think, what we didn't used to think could happen, now we realize may happen, and they're wanting to take steps in home defense. So what would you recommend, or what advice would you give?
Well, first of all, I would say that you definitely need to think about it seriously. You need to have like a plan. You need to sit down and think about, what am I going to do if there is a home invasion? Where am I, what's my tactic? What's my safe room? You need to really sit down and actually plan it out. Don't just think that in the heat of the moment, you're going to figure it out. It's not going to happen like that. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to be freaking out. You're not going to know, what to do. So sit down, plan it out, think about all those things I mentioned, your safe room, your fields of fire, what weapons you plan to use, etc. All those things, just sit down and think about it. Obviously too, your firearms, you want to obviously train with them, but it's good to do ballistics testing with the ammunition that you're using. You can watch Kentucky Patriots channel, my channel. There's a lot of other channels that do ballistics testing, or do it on your own. Make sure that the ammo you have actually works. Because there's a lot of ammunition out there that's, a lot of it's, I hate to say it, but it's just gimmicks. These are, a lot of these ammo companies, they're in the business of making money, so they may sell ammo and market it a certain way, but it may not actually perform. So read the reviews on the ammo, make sure it works. You know, shoot your guns a lot. You know, make sure that your ammo feeds well. Practice, you know, practice is critical. But you know, sit down, have a plan. You know, write it out. Go through it with your family. You know, what do we do if something happens? Reach out to your neighbors if you're new and you move to a new area. You know, reach out to your neighbors. Be friendly. You know, that's I think that having a good support network is important too. You know, your neighbors can really help you out a lot. If they see something weird, they can tell you, and then you know, okay, you know, while I was at work yesterday, there was a strange car that was scouting my house out. But if you didn't have that relationship with your neighbor, they would have never told you that, and you probably wouldn't even know, you know. So
Yeah.
so those are
Great
some good
point.
things right there to start with. So
Absolutely. Great points. And this is part 2 of the video. Hopefully we'll have more coming your way. Any ideas that you have, any topics you'd like for us to discuss, any questions that you would like to ask New York Prepper, anything you'd like for us to maybe go in a little more detail with, or anything you'd like to ask him. He's a super nice guy. I'm sure he'll be glad to hear from you. And again, if you would, check out his channel. We appreciate you watching. Stay safe out there. Protect your home, protect your family. Your life is definitely worth taking some time and investing in some home defense tactics. The idea of it'll never happen to me is dangerous, as the old saying is, a cocked gun. So be careful, be vigilant, take care out there. We wish you and yours the very best in the new year coming up. May God bless you. From New York to Kentucky, the Kentucky Patriot signing off.